Thank you, Robert. I'm here in the green room at Severance Hall, and I have as my guest a lovely lady who's been to Cleveland many times before and is always a welcome face around Severance Hall, Miss Judith Raskin. Judy, welcome back.
Thank you. I love being
you.
back. Oh, well, I adore being in Cleveland.
What is the difference between singing a Mahler song with piano or a Mahler song with orchestra and a Berlioz song with orchestra?
Well, actually, the difference is not as great as one would think, especially when you have an orchestra like the Cleveland, which can accompany practically the same balance as a piano. Obviously, it can't be the same balance, but I would imagine the audience might suspect that I would say piano is easier because of the collaboration, the voice and the piano being balanced so easily. But in singing songs, as opposed to singing opera, the essence of the text guides the singer. And I mean, in this particular case, the poetic text. In opera, you, of course, have the movements of the stage, and you have costumes to add to the general picture. But whether you sing a song with orchestra or with piano, it is the text and the color of the words and the poetry of the words that must be primarily on your mind. I rather like doing songs with orchestra because you can get so many varied colors, and if you listened carefully to the orchestration of the Berlioz, he loved to make this atmosphere with the strings, and I would say that I have a special preference for songs.
You've sung Mahler here in the past, and you've sung Mozart, among other things. Is there a difference in other than the sheer instrumental style, the sheer national style, let's say, between preparing a Mahler Fourth Symphony, a song in the Mahler Fourth, and the Exultate Jubilate? Are there differences in approach to these things which...
You mean as the study goes on?
Yes.
Well, in the Berlioz, one of the most difficult things I found is that the structure of the songs is very evanescent. I mean, it's not as simple as Mozart, where... Now, I mean simple and not easy. I mean simple.
That's understood, yes.
Mozart isn't easy. But I found the Nuits d'été inaccessible for a couple of months. I just didn't quite know how to approach it. And then I studied the French very carefully. And I must say Maestro Boulez helped me. He extracted some of the bar lines, and the music began to flow a little bit more. And I realized that because I've done so much German and the classics, that I perhaps wasn't as familiar with the ebb and flow of the French music. And it was easily accessible once it was pointed out to me, but in the study of it, it took a little bit longer there's a constant repetition, and the songs have a similarity, and the only way to distinguish them is through the different quality of the sound and the different, if you want to use the word, color. And I think that's a good one to use with French. They're blues and pinks and yellows. And
this may be some of the problem that an audience has, I think, with this cycle, which has never really been the kind of favorite, nor has Berlioz in general been the kind of favorite with concert audiences, of course, with vocal connoisseurs and this sort of thing.
Yes, this is a connoisseur's piece by all means, and if you contrast it to Mahler, I found wherever I sing Mahler, there's an immediate appeal. First of all, he uses the folk idiom, which is terribly appealing, and secondly, he uses the voice in a very conversational way, whereas Berlioz, I don't know, are we deciding our pronunciation?
No. We'll pass.
Berlioz uses the voice sometimes as an instrument, sometimes for the projection of words, sometimes purely as a color, and on top of that we have this, what I call cross-sex, where I'm singing a man's song and a woman's song, and I'm singing it because it's traditional for a woman to sing this cycle, and yet then one wonders, is the poetry that personal? Of course, I do sing men's song even in German Lieder, but somehow or other, it is a little bizarre to the non-connoisseur. Yes, it's a little unfocused, all of it, a little evanescent.
One last question. Your recital discs have been doing very well, both artistically, of course,
and, thank you.
And economically, does one say? Any further plans in that area?
Well, I did the Mendelssohn and Mahler with George Schick, and that was very successful. And so we did a Schubert album, and we hope to be able to do another. Our plans are not complete yet, but Epic, I hope we'll want to do another. Maybe not just one composer or two, maybe a freer kind of program. But that's still in the thinking stage, and I enjoy thinking along these lines. I enjoy planning. But leader recital records surprise me when they become popular, because one never thinks of that as popular material. But in the short time that I have done leader recitals, I have found a tremendous audience for it, and I'm on a leader recital series this year in New York at the Metropolitan Museum with artists like Christa Ludwig, Walter Berry, Ernst Hefliger, Janet Baker. And
Distinguished group?
yes, I thought it was very distinguished, and I'm very pleased that they're sold out.
Oh, marvelous.
Yes, they're really quite excited about it.
Well, whatever your plans are, I hope they bring you back to Cleveland. Thank you very much
Oh,
for
thank you.
coming
They will,
and
by the way. I'll
talking
be back in May.
Yes, good, fine.
Thank
We've
you.
been talking with Judith Raskin, soprano on today's program. This is Martin Perlich, now back to Robert Conrad.